much could I sell these for? Are they even worth anything? They're very secure. Oh, sorry. Good morning. And today's news. Let's go over here. Check this out. Trump is basically fighting with the Federal Reserve now. Not surprising. They decided not to cut rates. Kind of a bummer for most of us. Long way around, these rates affect a lot more than you would think. They affect your mortgage rates. They affect even employment itself. That's basically how the Federal Reserve controls the U.S. economy. But that's not what's really bothering me about this. Now, obviously, don't take any of this as financial advice. But there's something weird going on here. So Trump lays into him, as reported by the Daily Mail. It's interesting here. Does not surprise me. Now, granted, this is a Republican. That guy there, Jerome Powell, is a Republican. He was put in back in 2018. Now, Trump's adding these tariffs on everybody. He's going to try and win this war, and if anybody could, it'd be Trump and the United States. The Federal Reserve, for Trump needs the Federal Reserve to lower rates so that his tariffs have a lessened impact on the economy. You won't notice any difference because the rates are now lower, and the prices that did go up, have been offset by a lower interest rate, which means you can get cheaper mortgages and cheaper loans from banks and things like that. Now, they say inflation is not under control. And they're kind of right. Inflation is higher than it should be. So Trump's messing with it is interesting. Inflation is usually around 2.5% to 3%. I think that's what they target. It depends on who you ask, I guess. But that's usually what they go for. But what really bothers me, here we go, let's see. End of the year, 2.7 versus 2.5 anticipated. Okay, so that's not too bad. Hold on. There's one thing here that really bothers me about what's going on here. And the Fed is doing a wait and see on the economy. Now, that's okay. They do that all the time. But what really, really gets to me is they announced that later this year they will lower rates. That is crazy. I've never heard the Federal Reserve announce that we're not going to do it right now, but we will do it later this year. They usually don't do that. That in itself affects the economy. If you know that inflation rates are interest rates are whatever percent they are right now for a car or a house, whatever you're going to buy, and you know that in the future it will be lower, you're not going to buy a car right now unless you have to. You're going to be like, well, you know what? I'll just wait until a few months later when they meet again and the interest rates will drop. It's weird. I think that what's going on here is the Fed hates Donald Trump, and this is a good way to mess with him. It'll keep rates a little bit high and make everybody angry and maybe make Trump adjust his tariffs. That's my theory. Could totally be wrong. It could be a totally normal thing that just happens and I just never noticed it after all these years. I doubt it. I really think that the Fed, Jerome Powell and the rest of them are messing with Trump on this one. Let me see if I can find the exact wording that they say here. Here, let me pause this. Here it is, right here. As you can see, Daily Mail reports Powell did say on Wednesday that they plan to cut rates twice later this year, but not in time for Trump's proposed Liberation Day, which is April 2nd, which is when Trump's tariffs really start coming in. That's weird. I could not find a moment in history where the Fed announced that. In economics, there's a thing called deflation. Deflation is the opposite of inflation, as you can probably imagine. Basically, prices start dropping. And so what would cost you $20 right now, tomorrow will cost you $15. And the day after that, it'll cost you $10. Effectively, by announcing rates, it is artificially creating a deflationary scenario. Deflation is feared by economists. They think it is worse than inflation. It is absolute devastating to an economy. I haven't really seen a whole lot of great examples of it occurring. You see plenty of great examples of inflation occurring. Hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, Brazil, places like that, Venezuela, where it's just nuts. But deflation, not a whole lot of examples of. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure it's occurred, but I don't see the death spiral for deflation as much as most economists do. When I was in school, we talked about this, and that's taught. That is absolute fact. This is what modern economic theory is all about. In light of everything that's happened in the last few years, I've begun to doubt whether or not deflation is as bad as economists predict. I really don't know anymore. In fact, I'm curious to see what would happen. Now, Trump is not going to get us to deflation at the moment. Inflation rates are way too high right now. We're still, I believe, what is the current inflation rate? Let's see. Huh. That's interesting. It's 2.8%. Let's take a look at historic interest rates. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. I'm curious because let's see if we got anything here. Here we go. It's by U.S. inflation calculator. Let's see. Obviously, here we go. Average inflation rate for the year. When rates were basically nothing, we were at between 1.5% to 2%, and basically there. So we're at 2.9 average right now, as of last year, and we're hitting 2.8 right now. That's a good sign. That means Trump's doing his job. To be fair, we were downward trending. Well, not really. We were going up. So Trump brought it back down. Okay. Whether he did it or this just market fluctuation, that's an interesting question. But under his leadership, the market rate has gone down from 3% in January to 2.8 in February. That's 0.2% sounds like nothing, but it is a lot, especially when it comes to buying a house. So that's not bad. But I'm surprised that interest rates are as high as they are. They should be lower. They should be a lot lower. That's interesting. That's very interesting. You know, why is the rate so high? Federal Reserve kind of exists as a independent-ish entity from the U.S. government as far as like politics are involved. Their job is their job, and they don't really let politics get in the way. But that's nice in theory, but difficult in practice. Everyone's a human. You have people you like and you hate, and it's clear that I think that the Federal Reserve hates Donald Trump. I think that is what's going on here. I think they know that this will mess with him. It'll keep rates artificially higher than they need to be and make Trump's tariffs worse for the economy. 25% tariff it's a big deal. I work with a company where we order stuff from Canada, and it's likely that these rates will affect prices. Now, we have American manufacturers that we use, and we'll just probably use those more. But that's kind of the goal, I think, with Trump as well. It will drive U.S. economic output domestically, which is important. But there are some things you just can't jump right into very easily. It's you can make a factory, but it'll take a good year or two to build, and then train your employees, and then get the equipment ready, and then you start manufacturing something. And then 2 years is a long time in the market, so it's a significant investment. A lot of times you see this in building construction, mainly with skyscrapers and large construction projects. They'll usually start building them, and by the time they finish, the entire market has changed. The people that wanted to be in that building are broke or moved on, and the building it doesn't really make any money for years. It's I believe even China, they had a really big problem with this, actually. They banned, I think, skyscrapers over a certain height because they just couldn't afford to maintain them anymore. They just can't afford to build them. They can't get people to buy in and stay, and that's a whole other story. Well, maybe we'll do that another day. But what do you guys think? The Fed's messing with Trump, or is it just normal procedure? Have you ever heard the Fed announce rate cuts before and say, no, we're not going to do them now, but later we're going to get them? Have you ever heard that? I haven't, and I couldn't find any evidence of it. But if you do know about it, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and maybe this is just a totally normal thing. But I'm not so sure. What do you think?